Well, here he is. We do have his characterization of the call. Listen to this.
Have you spoken in the last couple of days to the president about any of this?
Yeah, we talked for almost 20 minutes, and this issue never came up. I mean, I kept trying to talk about L.A. He wanted to talk about all these other issues. We had a very decent conversation.
When was this?
This was late Friday night, about 1:30 plus his time.
After the protests that started here.
After the protests, and he never once brought up the National Guard. He's a stone-cold liar. He said he did. Stone-cold liar. Never did.
Harsher words for Trump than the protests. That was the Friday call. There could have been another call since then. I just want to point that out. But he has harsher words for President Trump than he does for the rioters.
Well, I think a big part of this, though, is that this is very embarrassing for Gavin Newsom, and it's after a string of embarrassments. You look at all these different Democrat policies that are under dispute nationally, and they're best epitomized in California, whether it's how to handle a homeless population. Do you encourage it or do you discourage it? California encourages it, and they deal with all of that. All of their horrible wildfire preparation. You know, they get a lot of Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom get a lot of criticism for how they responded to that fire. But really, the bigger criticism is how they failed to prepare for that fire. And then you look at all of the riots, the cartel riots, and what they're doing to encourage cartel activity in California. You know, California is a state where you basically can only afford to live there if you're extremely wealthy or if you're illegal. And they've kind of hollowed out the middle class. So when people look at what they don't like about Democrat policies, they look at California and they think Gavin Newsom, and that scares him heading into a primary.
You know, Brian, and I would just say, having listened to President Trump make many phone calls to many different governors, world leaders, President Trump's not a wallflower. He's not someone who sits there as the city burns and just doesn't speak up.
He's going to do it. And like I said, I think that he really adjusted from the first term. He said, I held back. A lot of people consulted him to let Minneapolis handle Minneapolis, let Seattle and Portland handle it. And this time he's like, no, we're not going to do it. He's also sending a message to Chicago, Dallas, Philadelphia, all these others that, yeah, you might. And by the way, I hear there might be heating something. If they're heating something up for this weekend, that we're going to come down. We're going to come down hard. And if you have a police force, I like what Eric Adams said yesterday. He said, don't think it just New York is going to tolerate what's happening in Los Angeles.
100%.
Yep. And President Trump made clear today, if there was an interruption, I would invoke the Insurrection Act. I believe that was the first question. That was his response. So word of warning ahead of this weekend.
Yeah.